supposedly there's some chatter on the internet about jacking rails on S550 Mustangs. How that Ford's somebody wanted to know if our jacking rails would support the weight of the car. Well, absolutely, they will, because I guess there's some people are going back and forth that you shouldn't use jacking rails and you should use jacking rails. I guess Ford says you should not use jacking rails. You should jack it up on the pinch weld. Over the years, I've seen cars that have come in that people have jacked up the pinch welds, and they get all bent out of shape, and all of a sudden the spot welds start to come undone. I've been using jacking rails in my Mustang since 1986, and we sell a lot of them, and it's something that you really, really need to use. Now, our jacking rails for the S550s, somebody wanted to know if they'll support the car. Trust me, they will. Our jacking rails, the 550s, are completely different than anything else in the market, because we took kind of a different approach. We actually engineered the jacking rails rather than just take some tubing and slap it on. Yeah. I can tell you, jacking rails are pretty darn stout. This is actually made out of 12 gauge, which is like 105 thousandths thick. And something that's pretty unique, I don't know if you can see that, is they're not square. There we go. They're not square. And the reason they're not square is because the body, there's some really handy spots front and rear. We can bolt these things too. And with the 550s, the chassis are so rigid to start with, you know, it's not necessary to weld on there because you can just bolt these right on, which makes it easier. And they're pretty stout. What we did is where these bolt to the chassis right here, it actually has a 5-degree slant to it, so not parallel to the ground. Some of the other jacking rails we've seen, they bolt flat to that, which means that they're kind of twisted. But with this, we actually have a 5-degree tilt built into it. So after it bolts to the chassis, it's now parallel to the ground. And so it's just a little bit below the pinch weld, so that when you jack the car up, I mean, you're not going to squash the pinch weld. That's the whole idea of jacking rails, is to preserve the pinch weld. Now, on the Fox S197 and Gen 1 Mustangs, they all weld to the pinch weld. And also SN95 is a little different, but that also welds to the pinch weld. So you get a really strong place. You can jack up the car. You can put jack stands under there. You know, to me, the whole concept of jacking up on the pinch weld or putting jack stands on the pinch weld, you know, that's not, to me, that's not a good idea. So that hopefully that'll dispel some myths that whether or not to use jacking rails in a 550, absolutely. I mean, your life will be so much easier